the lineup equipments of developing Sinai is now is going to be inspected by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. As we see now, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is arriving in Sinai to inspect the implementation of the state's plan to develop the Sinai Peninsula.
حيث يشهد السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي اصطفاف المعدات الهندسية المشاركة في عملية التنمية الاستراتيجية في شمال سيناء. مشاهدينا الكرام، تهتم الدولة بشكل كبير بالنهوض بشمال
The state is working in the development of the Sinai Peninsula in general, especially after long years of marginalization and negligence. From here came the attention given by President Sisi since the year 2014 to developing a strategic plan to achieve Egypt's Vision 2030, to achieve development in Egypt in general and Sinai Peninsula in particular, due to the fact that the people in these border areas had faced a lot of difficulties. So there is the development of the infrastructure, social, economic developments, as well as increase of investments. And the biggest challenge was launching this process for the construction of Sinai, as well as confronting terrorism and eradicating it. Egypt during this phase was defending the whole world in its battle against terrorism, and there were the terrorist groups who were extremists and were trying to destroy Sinai. So the security challenged those terrorists to prevent them from harming Egypt, as well as destroying the areas in Sinai, in addition to defending, of course, our brothers and sisters. The armed forces played a great role in eradicating terrorism in support with the police. In this context, Egypt was working on parallel confronting terrorism and eradicating it, in addition to development. The development plan was going in parallel, so both lines were implemented at the same time in Sinai, and also development was taking place through a number of projects, and this had a great impact and a great role on confronting all these challenges. The construction and the development went on, and we have witnessed the inauguration of a lot of national projects in Sinai that serve Egyptians in general and the residents of Sinai in particular. The sons and daughters of Sinai, through their support to the armed forces and the police, were able to confront all these challenges jeopardizing Sinai. And after we have seen the president of the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, along with other 7 ministers to Sinai, this had a great significance, as it shows the security and stability Sinai enjoys. And they talked also about construction and development, the infrastructure projects. More than 1 city are under construction in Rafah, El Arish port, and in addition to the renovation in Sinai. All these things were for the interest of the residents of Sinai and Egypt in general. And of course, this had a great impact that we've witnessed even through interviews with a number of investors who were attracted to invest in Sinai. And there are also a number of national companies and private Egyptian companies that are working on the construction of Sinai. For infrastructure, there are programs for agriculture, wastewater, as well as electricity projects to benefit from the resources in Sinai, as Sinai has a wealth of resources, and the political leadership, the state and the government are trying to make an optimum investment in them, and they were able to overcome the different challenges, and things got back to normal, and due attention now is given to Sinai Peninsula. This lineup is on the land of Sinai and in Tell el-Kabir in Wadi el-Mulak in Ismailia Governorate. And here the lineup is usually for the military, but here this is significant. It is significant to symbolize both facing terrorism as well as the preparedness and the readiness to construct Sinai. So they are checking here on the same land the preparedness to head to Sinai to construct it and develop it further. And these investments, the state has started working on in a number of years through its strategic plan, created job opportunities for the residents of Sinai as well as the investors. Road projects that paved the way to access Sinai and connecting Sinai to the valley, so that Sinai would be a normal extension of all these lands. And there are also the tunnels that were dug under the supervision of the Military Engineering Authority, so that it would connect Sinai to the valley. And all these projects had their important effects. May all our martyrs rest in peace after they sacrificed themselves to clear Sinai from the terrorists. And now we are able to construct Sinai thanks to the role these martyrs played, as well as the army, the police, and the people of Sinai. This enabled us to start the development today. And as we can all see, the battle of development in Sinai has started. Dear viewers, once more our greetings from the land of Sinai and from the second field army. We can witness the lineup of machineries and equipment to construct Sinai, and President Sisi is inspecting them.
شعبنا أقسم برب يعيش لنا حالف يضحي.
أحييكم مشاهدينا الكرام من أرض اصطفاف المعدات الهندسية المشاركة في خطة التطوير الاستراتيجي
the lineup of equipments and machineries that would participate in the construction of Sinai. We can see the role played by businessmen, investors, national companies that would contribute to the development of Sinai. We are honored to have with us in this interview Hagga Hamdan al-Qusari, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the national companies that will work on the development of Sinai. We have with us engineer Osama al-Qassas, one of the directors of a national company that will work on the construction of Sinai. Hagga Hamdan, to get to know more about the importance of this event, meeting President Sisi directly is so important. Also, we'd like to know the role that your company would play in the construction of Sinai. First of all, as for the place and the event, when the president works on a project, he gives us hope, and thus we have full confidence that there is seriousness, fast implementation of the project. So God willing, we will continue with the development of Sinai. As for the role of our company, we work in the field of roads, construction and infrastructure. We are fully ready with the equipments and all the machines to start constructing Sinai, and this was our dream and we see it coming true. Engineer Mohammed al-Qassas. Peace be upon you. Many happy returns. Take your seats, please. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings with the spirit of Sinai, greetings to the Egyptian strong hands that liberated the land and kept the promise and worked on development everywhere on all levels after it eradicated terrorism. And here is the project of developing Sinai with all its details and efforts intertwined with the development of Suez Canal area. The armed forces with the people of Sinai hand in hand worked on different sectors to improve the quality of life for them so that Sinai would be an area that would attract residents and investments exactly like other spots in Egypt that witnessed and are witnessing over the previous years the opening of a number of development and national projects in the north and south, the east and the west, supported with a developed network of roads that connect the different areas as well as the great potentials of transport to link the raw materials, the inputs, the production units, the industry spots, as this is the engine of development, no doubt. And the best thing to start with is verses from the Holy Quran recited by reciter Ayman Aql.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. فما يكذبك بعد بالدين؟ أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين؟ صدق الله العظيم.
بلى وهو السميع العليم. رغم الظروف الصعبة
Despite the
والتحديات
difficult
الأمنية،
circumstances and the
سارت
security
التنمية
challenges,
جنباً إلى جنب
development
مع جهود
worked
محاربة
in
الإرهاب
parallel with the
وإقرارها.
efforts of fighting
وفي ذلك
terrorism,
كانت سيناء
and
صوب أعين
Sinai was
مع
before the
مسيرة
eyes of
9
the
سنوات
state.
من
With the
البناء
path
والتنمية.
of 9 years of
كلمة
development and
الدكتور
construction, the
مصطفى
speech of
مدبولي
Dr.
رئيس
Mustafa
مجلس
Madbouli, the Prime Minister of Egypt.
بسم الله الرحمن
In the
الرحيم.
name of Allah, the most
السيد
merciful, the
الرئيس
most
عبد الفتاح
compassionate
السيسي
President
رئيس
Abdel Fattah
الجمهورية،
Sisi, the President of the
السيدات والسادة
Republic.
الحضور،
Ladies and
شرف لي
gentlemen, it
أن
gives
أقف
me
أمامكم اليوم
pleasure to
لكي
stand before
أستعرض
you
جهود
today to
الدولة
review the
التي
state's
قامت بها
efforts
على مدار
over
ال9 سنوات
the
الماضية
past
في تنمية
10
سيناء،
years in developing
والتي تقوم بها
Sinai
حاليا
and the
وستقوم بها
efforts it's doing
في
right now and
الفترة
will
القادمة إن
do
شاء
in the
الله.
coming period.
واسمحوا لي
Let
سيادة
me,
الرئيس
Your
في هذا
Excellency, the
الشأن
President, in this context,
إن أنا أبدأ حديثي
start
بأن هذه الجهود
by saying
الكبيرة
that
جدا اللي
these
قامت بها
big
الدولة
efforts on
تعتبر
part of the
بمثابة
state are
عبور جديد
considered to
لسيناء.
be a new
فإذا كان
crossover
العبور الأول
to
هو كان
Sinai.
بعد
If the
حرب
first
المجيد
crossover was
حرب
after
73 تحرير الأرض،
1973 war
فإن العبور
with the
الجديد اللي
aim
بتقوم
of
به الدولة
liberating
النهارده
the
هو
land,
غرض
the great
التنمية.
crossover the state is doing now has the purpose of
اسمحوا
comprehensive
لي
development
في هذه
and
المرحلة إن
construction.
أنا
And
أستعرض
let me
مع
here
حضراتكم
review with you
العرض الخاص
this
بالتنمية.
presentation on
الحقيقة سينا
developing
بالنسبة
Sinai.
للمصريين
Sinai for
دائما
all
هي
Egyptians
انطباعنا إنها يعني
has always
في
been
قلب كل
in
مصري
the
هو
hearts
مكانة كبيرة
of
جدا
every
وعزيزة،
Egyptian,
وهي مفتاح موقع
and it
مصر
is
العبقري في
the
قلب
key
العالم
to
بقارته
the
وحضاراته،
unique location
وهي
of Egypt,
البقعة
and
الوحيدة
it is
على
the
الكرة
only
الأرضية
spot on
اللي
earth
تجلى فيها ربنا بوجهه
on
الكريم
which
سبحانه
Allah
وتعالى
revealed
في
himself
المنطقة
to
المقدسة
his
طبعا
prophet
الطور.
in Tur.
ولكن يمكن ده انطباعنا على
This
مصر
is
أو
our
انطباع الكل المصريين
impression
عن سيناء.
about Sinai.
طب ايه هو انطباع
What
العالم
is the
عن
world's
سيناء؟
impression
بمعنى
about Sinai?
ما هي
I
صورة
mean,
سيناء
what is
النهارده
the image
قدام
of
العالم؟
Sinai in the eyes
والحقيقة
of the
يمكن
world?
الموضوع ده في السلايد اللي بعده الحقيقة
And
احنا
in the
فندم
next
استعنا
slide,
بالحقيقة أحدث برامج
we
الذكاء
used
الاصطناعي.
the artificial
البرنامج النهارده هو
intelligence
ثورة
programs,
بحق في
and
الاتصالات
this
وتكنولوجيا
program
المعلومات
is a
والذكاء
real
الصناعي.
revolution
البرنامج ده
in
اسمه
the
الحقيقة
field of
شات
artificial
وده
intelligence, and
يمكن
it is
بيبقى
called
روبوت
ChatGPT.
محادثة، بمعنى
This
إن
is
حضرتك
a
بتتواصل من
report.
خلال الكمبيوتر
You can,
وبتسأل
through
مجموعة
the
أسئلة عن
computer,
أي
ask a
موضوع.
number of questions about
البرنامج ده
any
الحقيقة
topic,
مخزن
and this
داتابيس كاملة،
program has
وبناء
a
على
full
هذه الداتا بيبدأ
database
يجاوب لك على
from
كل
which
الأسئلة
it
بوضوح.
retrieves the
الحقيقة احنا
answers to
طرحنا
your
عليه 5
questions
أسئلة
clearly. We
عن
raised
سيناء.
5 questions to
وكان
this
الحقيقة
program
الرد
about
في
Sinai,
خلال
and the
اللي بعد
response
كده الحقيقة احنا طلبنا منه في ال5 أسئلة إنه
was
يرد
as
في كلمة واحدة
follows.
في كل
And we
سؤال.
asked him to give
كان السؤال
only
الأول:
one word as
هل
a question. The
يمكن
first question
لسيناء على وجه
was,
الكرة
is
الأرضية؟
there a similar spot
جاوب
to
قال لا.
Sinai on the earth?
طيب
They
ما هي
said,
تجربة
it said no.
السائح
What
في
is the
سيناء؟
experience of the tourist in
الحقيقة قال
Sinai?
كلمة تأخذ
He
الأنفاس.
said
الموضوع
breathtaking.
الآخر: طيب الطبيعة.
Next, we asked about the nature in Sinai,
كلمة إنها
and the
طبيعة
word
ساحرة.
was charming.
لكن لما جينا نوصف له ونقول له
And when we
صف
asked
سيناء
the
نفسها
program
بكلمة
to
واحدة،
describe
قال
Sinai
كلمة
in
صحراء.
one word, he said desert.
والحقيقة يمكن يا فندم الكلمة دي
And
أنا يعني الحقيقة كلنا ركزنا
we
فيها
all focused on
وكتبنا
this
يمكن
word,
الإجابة عن
and
هذه
we
الكلمة
found
إن
that
دائما سيناء
the
على مر
reply is
التاريخ
that Sinai throughout history,
من عهد الفراعنة
since the
إلى
time of the
أكبر التاريخ
pharaohs Up till the modern age, there were no comprehensive development projects for Sinai. Why? Because simply speaking, Sinai was always considered to be the siege that protects Egypt from any invasion from the east. That's why in the Egyptian creed that we had for thousands of years is that this might be the battlefield to stop any invasion. That's why they left it as a virgin spot without developing it as an integral part of developing Egypt. And I'm talking about the mindset that was back then. And this was the challenge by time and throughout history. This shows us why there was no real vision for developing Sinai. Everything changed after 1973 war, when thank God that the land was liberated and the War and Peace War happened, and we restored the land of Sinai, and the state started thinking, how can we consider Sinai to be an integral part and the part of parcel of Egypt. And one of the most important projects the state tried over the past 30 years to implement were two major projects. The first is East Port Said or East Tafri'a Port and the industrial zone, in addition to the land reclamation project on Salam Lake and Bir Al Abd. And the state, after it implemented part of these projects, the projects were not continued for a number of obstacles and reasons. And since the 90s up till 2014, these projects did not achieve their purpose. So, this is a poll we made with the people in Sinai in 2010 through the Information and Decision Support Center in the cabinet. It asked the people of Sinai what are the most important challenges you are facing. As you can see, 63% said water, 50% said transport, 25% education, electricity and health. So the main issues were the following. In addition to this, and with the revolution of the 25th of January and the exceptional difficult conditions Egypt went through, then there were additional challenges added to these problems. The most important challenge was, of course, that Sinai unfortunately faced a lot of terrorist attacks, and every while you used to hear about a terrorist attack or exploding one of the oil pipelines between Egypt and Sinai. And the climax of these terrorist attacks was a Rhoda Mosque attack in November 2019, and there were also attacks that negatively impacted terrorism, like the Russian plane incidents in 2015. And this was the big challenge for the state to confront terrorism in Sinai. And let me, Your Excellency, remind all the attendees with what you said in 2014. You said that the plan was that Sinai would be a block of extremism and terrorism, and no one would be able to get rid of this spot, and this spot would be a center of terrorism. And you told all the Egyptians that the battle won't last for 1 month or even 1 year. It is a continuous battle. And you said that no one would be able to break the will of the Egyptians, and no one would be able to separate Sinai from Egypt. And that's why the state at that time has two options. The easy option was just to focus on fighting terrorism and to mobilize all state efforts to end it, and after that we can start thinking of development. But the political decision from the president was to go in parallel, to take the more complex option. In parallel to fighting terrorism, we would start real development unwitnessed by Sinai before. And that's why the fifth question we asked to the artificial intelligence software, when we asked it to describe the efforts exerted by the state over the past 8 years, and the reply was only one word: expansive. And it means that the development is expansive and comprehensive in all areas of Sinai. And it showed the photos of the development taking place in Sinai, the roads, the infrastructure needed, as well as development projects in Sinai. And simply speaking, this reflects the vision and the sectors on which the state worked to change the face of life in Sinai and to turn Sinai into a part and parcel of Egypt. The urban development, improving basic services, attracting investments, creating job opportunities, and developing Sinai. And let me go through these projects in details. A very important figure we need to remember when we looked at the volume of investments implemented and under implementation in Sinai Peninsula only, and I'm not here talking about what's happening in Suez Canal and the economic zone of Suez Canal. I'm talking only about Sinai Peninsula. We're talking about 610 billion Egyptian pounds that were sent on the development of Sinai. If we talk about urban development, and here the most important thing, and this was the vision, was how to do full link between West Suez Canal and East Suez Canal or Sinai. And this was through an integrated vision, through a number of roads and corridors of development connecting east to west, through a number of bridges and tunnels that are connecting the development. And when we come to talk about connectivity through roads, we'll find that we have 5 tunnels below Suez Canal that was added to the only tunnel we used to have before Al-Shahid Ahmed Hamdi, and we have 7 floating bridges, in addition to a network of roads developed in Sinai that exceed 3,000 kilometers. The tunnels, and this was a great epic and an engineering miracle, that these tunnels were all constructed in record time. And I remember when the president brought the international companies to put the vision to constructing these tunnels, they were saying that they will construct them successively. So it will do 1 and then 2 and then 3. So we could have waited for 15 years at least for these tunnels to be constructed. But the decision was made that it would be implemented by the state in parallel. That's why, thank God, now, in addition to the old tunnel, Shahid Ahmed Hamdi, we have other 5 tunnels with a cost of 35 billion Egyptian pounds. If we would calculate the cost at today's price, then it would have been 4-folds if we want to construct them today. And the ability of these tunnels is great, as it connects 24/7 Sinai to the other parts of Egypt, and it takes 15 to 20 minutes to and from Sinai. And the other important thing is that these are not just tunnels, but it is a network of roads. The ones you see in red dots, this connects Matruh and Saloum to Sinai and vice versa through these tunnels. And this is an image from Google to show you and all the Egyptians how were things in 2013 and how do things look like now. And these are all Google images. These are Long Live Egypt tunnels in Ismailia. This is how they were in 2014. And now this is the image, full development in this area. And it is not just a tunnel, but there are other logistical services around the tunnel. and every group of tunnels, as you can see, is professionally constructed with safety networks. The 3rd of July tunnel in Port Said, the Shahid Ahmed Hamdi tunnel that the president inaugurated. And besides that all, we found that the spaces between the tunnels should have a number of floating bridges. So we constructed 7 bridges with a cost of almost 100 billion pounds to be at the distances between the tunnels, and they are all called after our martyrs who died while fighting terrorism in Sinai. And you can see on these images how these bridges play an important role in construction. Your Excellency, the President, we can see here a comparison between the roads that used to be in Sinai before 2014 that the state did over 20 years and what was done during the previous 8 years. Before 2014, we had 674 kilometers of roads, and since 2014 up till 2022, we're talking about 3,000 kilometers. So 5 folds more. And it is not just a matter of quantity, but it is a matter of quality, because here we're talking about a network of roads. The roads that used to be before were only 3 lanes both directions, but now we're talking about a network of road 3,067 kilometers. And I'm not here talking about the internal roads only, I'm talking about the main corridors. Here we're talking about corridors enough for developing Sinai over the coming 50 years. And not just to meet our needs today. As you can see, 2 directions per road, 3 lanes per direction, in addition to a service lane, and Ras al-Naqab road, in addition to Ismailiyya al-Auga road. All roads that are 2 separate directions to achieve safety and smooth traffic on these roads. In addition to that, we thought of connecting Sinai to the whole world. And this was done through doubling the waterway of Suez Canal, as well as the dry and sea ports, in addition to the airports that are developed in Sinai. And this image on the new Suez Canal, it shows the difference between 2014 and 2023. And this point was raised and discussed. They asked whether there was a necessity for this project. And I think that the answer is simply that if we look today at the revenues of Suez Canal in 2015 and 2022, we have jumped from 5 billion to almost 8 billion revenues, and we expect that they would increase further this year. The other important thing we need to be aware of is that through this strategic project that was implemented in only 1 year, according to the directives of the President, we emphasized the role of Suez Canal as an international waterway that stands to any competition. And I think that Major General Osama Rabia recognizes that now we're talking about 10 hours only to navigate through Suez Canal, and this enabled us to make it one of the most important channels of development worldwide. As for the airports, besides the new ports like Bardawil International Port, all the ports in Sinai are being renovated now, and these images show you a Bardawil International Airport to serve North Sinai, and also Sharm el-Sheikh Port that was developed when hosting COP27, in addition to Taba and Tur airports. And the last airport that is under renovation is St. Catherine's port that would serve the great touristic developments taking place now, and this is how the airport would look like by the end of this year, and we will inaugurate it. Also for the dry and sea ports, we have 5 ports: East Port-Said, العريش, ports, الأنطرة شر, نويبع, طابة, with a cost of 44 billion pounds. This image shows East Port-Said port in 2014, and here we're talking about the eastern part only of this image. Now in 2023, this is how it looks like. It shows the great development with the investments pumped by the state, not only in increasing the capacity of the ports, but in qualifying the industrial zone behind the port to be an integrated framework for the development of the northern part of the economic zone of Suez Canal. And this is the volume of containers and trade in this port. With all these ports, Nuweiba Seaport, that was developed with a cost of 350 million pounds. El Arish port, that the president gave directives to turn it into one of the main ports on the Mediterranean, and it will be an international port, and it will be an integrated port with a cost of more than 4 billion pounds. The dry and the land ports, these are all projects with the objective of connecting Sinai to Egypt and the whole world in the field of infrastructure. What was done in Sinai, in fact, is constructing modern infrastructure with the purpose of assimilating the overpopulation of Egypt, as well as the investments implemented in Egypt. And every sector, water, we're talking about 52 projects implemented with a cost 15 billion pounds that meant the drinking water coverage in Sinai increases to be 98%, and here we're talking about stable networks. The 2% is only the Bedouin communities that are isolated, and this has a different system in covering them with water. Sinai is distinguished by having the biggest number of desalination plants. We will see 12 desalination plants, either new or expansion of existing plants, with a capacity of 500,000 cubic meters per day. And this is the desalination plant in Ras Sedr. This is how it looks like. The desalination plant in El Arish. We are planning to reach 300,000, and now this plant exists on the ground, and this is its image. Other different plants, Sheikh Zayed has its own plant, Dahab, Taba cities as well. And in the development of East Port-Said, there is the biggest plant of El Arish, and it will reach 300,000. And in East Port-Said, we have a plant for 150,000 cubic meters per day, in addition to Bardawil plant to serve the communities there. In the field of wastewater, 25 projects were implemented with a cost of 4 billion pounds to double the coverage of wastewater from 17 to 40% in this very short period, be it in El Arish, Al-Tur, New Rafah. Electricity, we added 420 megawatts to the electricity, and we developed all the networks and the transformers and the generators, so we are now reassured about the stability of electricity, which is one of the main elements of development in Sinai. And this is how the electricity plant looks like in 2014. And with the construction of the station, development goes around it. I am showing you through the images the volume of development done by the state in Sinai, and then all the other images for the transformers. Bahr al-Baqar plant that serves the major project. We'll talk about the renewable energy projects in Sinai, all services, as well as the electricity program in Port Said, Ismailia, New Ismailia plant, as well as all the other projects implemented by the state. And in the field of petroleum and excavating oil wells, investments reach 18 billion pounds, and they are being implemented by the state now to increase the capacity of the oil wells. And next, the development communities. Any real development should be connected to establishing residential areas and urban communities for the residents of Sinai. And this is the map of these cities that the state is working on, and I will go through a number of them. The state established 17 development communities, and they are integrated ones for the people of Sinai to serve the cultural needs of the people, and it is an integrated urban community for agriculture, industry, education, health, all services. And to increase urbanization in Sinai, the state expanded its projects to construct new cities. And these are images from the city's new Rafah city. This is how it looked like in 2014, and this is the first phase of Rafah city, and the rest of the phases are under construction. This is the premises of New Ismailia. In 2014, we had only the lakes and the canal, and in this area we had the swamps, as well as number of random agricultural areas. And now, by doubling Suez Canal, we have the city of New Ismailia and new agricultural lands. We're talking about real development on ground, so that Sinai would be an example of development taking place everywhere in Egypt. This was the cornerstone for the city, and now with the development, this is one of the suburbs of Ismailia. To know the volume of efforts done to develop these urban communities, the urban community in Al Arish, all the projects, as you can see, are 17 urban communities with a cost of about 6 billion pounds, and they are implemented with all the services needed. The fishermen villages, this is how the fishermen villages look like. Instead of being unsuitable places, we are providing them with these decent houses, and this cost £500 million, and this is how the buildings look like in سكن كل المصريين in Al Arish or Tur Sinai, with the same high quality of implementing any project anywhere else. This is Ras Sidr, and in the framework of developing informal settlements, there was a Ruwaysat area in South Sinai, and we are constructing an integrated city for the people there, and it would be a real change for them. The 4 new cities, the share of Sinai of the 4 generation cities are 4 cities, and they can take up till now 50,000 housing units with a cost 18 billion Egyptian pounds, and it can assimilate in its first phases 1.5 million. And these are the 4 cities that we started working on, and the ones we start working on in the future, New Bir Al Abd city. To see the photos, this is New Ismailia city. It is a pearl now in East the Canal, and it was constructed by the engineering authority of the armed forces, and it has now 33,000 housing units. All the services are there. Salem city, East Port Said, and the first phase And this is part of the units there, the desalination plants, new Rafah city. And this is also the first phase of it that I was honored to inspect. And I found 1,500 new housing units at the level of the main services. As we do everywhere, we focus on the human being and developing him in Sinai Peninsula. So for educational services, at the level of pre-university education, we developed and constructed 151 elementary schools. So now they are serving 168,000 students, and the average students in classroom is 29 students per classroom. And it is not just schools, but since day one we tried to introduce advanced schools that provide distinguished educational services like the Egyptian Japanese schools that are there now in all cities in Sinai, in Tur, New Ismailia, Al Arish, Sharm el-Sheikh, as well as language schools in Al Arish and vocational schools, in addition to crafts schools. The great development was in university education. Before 2014, we had only two universities, Sinai Private University and Suez Canal University, Al Arish branch. Now we have added to these universities other 8 universities, 3 technological and government universities, and also 5 national universities. And they are creating an opportunity for development around them all. And this is King Salman University in Sharm el-Sheikh city in 2014, and this is how it looks like today. In this short period, after the university was constructed, the development happened around it, and these are the spots that attract real development. This is a Tur city, and you can see the site. It used to be a desert, and now, thank God, this is how the university and the surrounding area looks like. And the level of these universities are great, and this is the type of education we would like to provide to our students. Ismailia National University, in 2014 it was like that, and now this is how it looks like in 2023 after constructing the university. And it was opened, and this academic year had started in it. The university in Salam City, East Port Said, it opened this year, and also the technological university, in addition to developing Al Arish University that was just a branch of Suez Canal University, and now it's called Al Arish University, and it's being renovated, and it has all the faculties with a cost of £1 billion, and there are also branches in all cities in Sinai. And there is a branch in Abu Dis. In the field of health care, there used to be 50 hospitals, and 50 hospitals and the health clinics were developed with a cost of £4 billion, 12 hospitals and 38 medical units. And this is the images. You can see the quality of these hospitals, and the construction of these hospitals is according to the modern technologies and the modern systems. And this is Taba Hospital, St. Catherine's Hospital, and also Sharm el-Sheikh International Hospital was renovated, and it became the first green hospital in Egypt, in line with hosting COP27. So this hospital is the first green hospital in Egypt that applies green construction rules. Abu Dis Hospital, the cultural and the social services be it supply outlets, the bakeries, the milling units, as well as the cultural palaces, the youth centers everywhere. And this is the covered sports hall in Al Arish city, in addition to the youth and sports centers everywhere in Sinai. The last sector that is so important and for the state to achieve real development and to benefit from the resources of Sinai was economic development. And here we focused on three main things: agriculture, land reclamation, industrial development, tourism. In Sinai, we always had a lot of spaces that can be planted, but the challenge was water and providing water to plant all these lands. So the vision now is to add to the agricultural lands in Sinai for 150,000 fidans. The state established 5 new industrial zones in addition to tourism development. In the field of land reclamation, what was done in Sinai is a miracle. We have 2 of the biggest and complex projects implemented in the world. And all these aim at providing water for the reclamation of lands in Sinai. Before 2014, we had 224,000 fidans, and now with the implementation of these projects will exceed 675,000 fidans. So we are adding 450,000 fidans to the agricultural lands in Sinai. And the most important project that was included in Guinness record is Bahr al-Baqar wastewater plant, and it pumps 6 million cubic meters of water to Sinai, and they serve the plantation of the 400,000 new fidans. And this is how it looks like after constructed in a record time. And now we can see the volume of development as well as the lines constructed to connect this plant to the areas we want to reclaim. And this is done by the engineering authority to reach hundreds of kilometers that would be reclaimed and planted. In addition to that, there is Al Mahsama drainage plant, and it was implemented to plant 50,000 fidans. And you remember this complex project that we as a state succeeded in implementing, and now we are continuing the infrastructure for the irrigation water drains to continue planting the areas in Rab'a and Bir al-Abd that were planned to be planted since the 90s. Fisheries, the project is one of the major projects. El Fairuz fisheries, this is how they looked like in 2014, and this is how they look like in 2023. Now these are all the fisheries and the tanks with a great capacity that achieves part of self-sufficiency from fish, in addition to the other fisheries that were implemented in East the Canal with a cost of 650 million pounds. And you can see here the construction in Sahel Tina, and it has one of the most difficult soils, but now they are developing the fishing port and the major project for re-benefiting from Bardawil Lake, dredging it and increasing the amount of water in the lake so that it can give a high productivity, because it has the high quality fish and it will be again as it's used to be. It is not just the dredging, but also the development of the communities around it. As we said, they used to be slums for the fishermen, but you can see here how we were demolishing them and constructed suitable housing units around it, and a lot of things were removed from the lake, and there is an integrated system, an ice factory, packing and wrapping factories to serve that, the industrial development. 5 industrial zones on 83,000 fidans, Bir El Abd, Masaid, Central Sinai, Antara Shar, Abu Zneba, in addition to the other projects in East Port Said, and the factories like the marble factories in Kefkafa and the cement factories that were developed. This is how the industrial zone in East Port Said used to look like and how it looks like in 2023. And this is the master plan of East Port Said area, or the northern part of Suez Canal area, with the volume of development, the increase of productivity of the cement factory, and it is doubled now to be 7 million tons, and the complex for marble in Kefkafa in Central Sinai with a cost £1 billion. And one of the most elements to provide this important material, and it gives an added value to the raw materials in Sinai, and we are able now to export them abroad. One of the most important projects that were always planned for, and it's now a priority for the state, is the technology valley that serves New Ismailia city. And the small and medium enterprises had a big share as well. They provided 90,000 direct job opportunities, and the state pumped 2 billion Egyptian pounds in the field of investment. The state provided the infrastructure needed through constructing the investors' offices everywhere. Last but not least, tourism. The projects implemented by the state, this is one of the most important projects the President gave us directives to finalize. And it is Sharm el-Sheikh Museum. This is how it looked like in 2014, and now after inaugurating it and the development in its surrounding, now it is a hub that attracts tourists to Sharm el-Sheikh. And the development that happened in Sharm el-Sheikh during COP27 made the city of Sharm el-Sheikh one main destination for tourists. And this is not just limited to Sharm el-Sheikh. We're talking about Tur Sinai, the Corniche there, as well as the important project St. Catherine's City. We all realize how this site is unique. It's the only place where Allah, glory be to him, revealed himself to his prophet, and now there is tourist development, and this is the master plan, and this is what is being implemented, and before the end of this year these projects would be completed, and we are targeting the second half of this year to finish all the projects for developing St. Catherine, to show the importance and the holiness of this spot. You can see the master plan and what is on the ground, the hotels of high quality, the environmental dimension taking place in these projects. At the end of the presentation, we did a poll at the beginning of this month with the people of Sinai. We asked them, according to what the state did, how you are satisfied. You found that the satisfaction of the people of Sinai has raised. And this is only just one part of the development that the state is still working on. For the future vision, in addition to all these projects we're working on, the President gave us directives to focus on basic things like the mining materials in Sinai, land reclamation, And another important thing is to go to the existing cities and centers and renovate them completely, like El Arish, Bir El Abd, Sheikh Zouayed, and develop them so that they would be similar to the capitals of other governorates we have in Egypt. And one of the important projects the state is targeting is developing the 109,000 Fiddans area and reclaim the lands there and establish logistical sites to serve East Sinai area. And last but not least, the black sand wealth in this area. And we have reserves that are about 1 billion tons. 13 million tons are the best minerals worldwide, and the state is working on extracting these valuable minerals to be an added value. I would like to finish by saying that the state, with all the efforts it made and will make in the future, would really connect Sinai to Egypt eternally, and thank God all forms of development will be there in it. Thank you. As we have seen, Sinai has become an important, attractive spot for investments. Everything is ready. The infrastructure made great stride. And the land is well prepared. This documentary under the title The Pulse of a State, produced by
سيناء، معبر الأنبياء، أرض الرسالات والتجليات الإلهية، بوابة مصر الشرقية،
Egypt's eastern doorway and its protective shield over history. It has witnessed the best civilizations, and on its land the legends and battles took place. The idea of its construction and development and connecting it to the heart of the state was a dream that preoccupied the Egyptians. The road was not paved. There were two big obstacles: lack of funding and terrorism and instability. Until Allah gave Egypt a wise leadership that put Sinai on its priorities and provided the needed funding, as well as confronting the terrorist plans, and restored security and stability to Sinai. What we're doing in Sinai is an attempt to do real development. By the end of the day, this is well deserved. We need to do more and to spend more. I just wanted to tell all of us that we used to think when we see any attack that thing has come to an end, but there is a big price to end terrorism, and it's prime time to achieve the dream of development with the biggest national project in the history of Egypt. The beginning was through popular subscription to dig the new Suez Canal, and it was inaugurated in 1 year also. And this was the starting point to developing this spot dear to our hearts. And this was related to construction of roads, tunnels, and bridges, as well as fisheries projects on thousands of fiddans. The purifying and the dredging of lakes. The development projects also covered a number of sectors, like projects for infrastructure, on top of which is Suez Canal tunnels in Ismailia, Port Said, and Suez. And these are considered to be new channels that connect Sinai to everywhere in Egypt, in addition to the construction of floating bridges over the waterway, the canal, to serve commercial sites between the east and the west. And roads are considered to be the main channels for the new residential communities and urban areas. So a network of horizontal and vertical roads was constructed, in addition to developing a number of seaports, dry ports, and sea and airports. And the construction started in every spot in Sinai. New residential projects were established through 3 new cities: New Ismailia City, New Rafah City, and Salam, Egypt, East Port Said City. In addition to other housing projects in central, north, and south Sinai, in addition to the construction of 45 projects for Bedouin communities designed according to the recent technologies, in addition to renovating and upgrading and constructing new schools, Azhar institutes. In addition to establishing King Salman University in South Sinai with its different branches, Tur, Sharm el-Sheikh, and Ras Sedr. Sinai University for Technology and Science. In the field of health care, a number of hospitals were constructed, as well as upgrading the existing hospitals, in addition to health clinics and equipping it with medical equipment. And because water is the source of life, 22 new projects were established for desalination plants to provide drinking water. In the field of land reclamation and agriculture, the state is working on increasing agricultural lands in central and north Sinai, and it reached 500,000 fidans, especially after finalizing the biggest 2 projects for treating wastewater in the Middle East, and that is Al-Mahsama wastewater plant and Bahr al-Baqar drainage wastewater plant, that contributed to reclaiming lands and providing thousands of fruitful trees. And the fisheries are considered to be a great renaissance in the field of food security. Ethics of achievements through establishing a number of production edifices, as cement factory in Al Arish was constructed, in addition to the granite and marble factory, in addition to the free zone East Port Said, that will make Sinai an important hub for international trade and logistical support to international freight, in addition to creating thousands of job opportunities to our people in Sinai. All this was achieved while Egypt was fighting terrorism. Thank God we succeeded to a large extent to end terrorism, and we need to emphasize the ability of the state to not leave anyone to take any spot of Egypt or control it. In the beginning, I was afraid to walk in the street, but now it's very safe. You can walk down the street, there is no curfew, and I'm not afraid. Bir el-Abd now is so safe. As you can see, all the students are in school and everything is normal in the governorate. Now in Al Arish public hospital, we have seen great developments. Security is established in Sinai, and we are like all other governments. In 2014 and 2015, I used to be fearful to go to the street, but right now Al Arish is better than before. In the beginning, we used to have gunfire and things were not safe. I was in Ismailia, but now I came to live here. Thank God it is secure here, and there is development also. We are better. Security is there back. Life is back to normal by 100%, and I think everything would be better. And then the political leadership supported the strategic development plans of North Sinai, and a group of equipments and machines would participate in the comprehensive development of Sinai to improve the standard of living there and to change the face of life at this spot dear to our hearts. Sinai will always be the dream of a country that would be attained by the hands of its devoted sons and the will of its people, and its determination to defeat the impossible. The engineering authority of the armed forces, as usual, is there in the major projects in the field of development, and Sinai is always in the heart. The efforts of the armed forces open doors wide for construction and development through its cooperation with civil companies and creating job opportunities for the people of Sinai. The speech of Major General Ahmed Al-Azazi, the chairman of the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces. In the name of Allah, Her Excellency President Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, distinguished guest Sinai, the blessed land, the cradle of divine messages, the heart of the world, the key of understanding the past, constructing the present and building the future. To build a new republic, the President has given directives to implement development projects in parallel to eliminating the powers of evil, to extend the bridges of development to Sinai, and this is our approach from which we inspire our implementation for a better future. Since the 30th of June 2014, the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces, in coordination with the competent ministries, was designated to implement a number of projects, total 460 projects with a total cost £480 billion that covered all development sectors in Sinai. 340 projects were finalized and 102 projects are under implementation and 18 projects are under planning. In the field of tunnels, roads, bridges, ports, a number of roads and corridors were constructed to link Sinai to other governorates. 60 corridors with a length of 2,600 kilometers and 23 are implemented with a length of 420 kilometers, and we plan 7 projects with a length of 440 kilometers with a total 2,460 kilometers for 90 roads and corridors with a cost of 69 million Egyptian pounds. And also for tunnels, 5 tunnels were constructed with a total length of 25 kilometers, total cost 35 billion pounds. In the field of bridges, we upgraded the railway of El Ferdan bridge and constructing a new bridge above the new Suez Canal with a length of 640 kilometers and width 11 meters and height 65 meters with a total cost 3.2 billion pounds. In the field of ports, we constructed the airport of El Bardawil to take 300 passengers per hour and developed Sharm el-Sheikh airport to take 5,000 passengers and developing El Arish airport with a cost 2.5 billion pounds, and the airport in St. Catherine is developed with a cost 3.2 billion pounds, so the total cost is 11 billion pounds. In the field of sea trade ports, we are developing El Arish port over 542 feet with a cost 4 billion pounds. It covers the dockage with a total length of 1,065 with a total length of 1,750. In the field of urban communities, we implemented 51 projects. 4 projects are under construction and 5 projects under planning with a total of 63,000 housing units with a total cost 60 billion pounds. One of the most important projects implemented in Sinai is the construction of 2 new cities, New Ismailia city with a capacity 33,000 units, and Salam Misr East Port Said with a total 4,400 housing units, and New Rafah city with a total 11,000 units, and 1,344 units were finalized in addition to the construction of 9,100 units as following: 2,000 in El Masaid city in Al Arish, others in South Sinai, and we plan to construct 3,000 units in Sharm el-Sheikh city. In the field of constructing the development and urban communities, we finalized 18 Bedouin communities with a total 1,200 Bedouin houses. We dug 289 wells with a depth 300 to 1,000 and reclaimed 10,610 fidans, constructing 4 villages for fishermen over Bardawi Lake, 200 houses. In the field of healthcare, we implemented 30 projects and 2 projects under implementation with a total 32 projects with a total cost 3.5 billion pounds. And one of the most important projects implemented is the construction of 2 hospitals in Bi'r al-Abd Nakhl with a capacity 135 beds and upgrading hospitals, the construction and the renovation of 16 health centers and medical clinics in the cities of South Sinai, and we finalized the establishment of the central labs for food safety and plant quarantine in Nuweiba. In the field of drinking water, electricity and wastewater, we developed the infrastructure for drinking water, electricity and wastewater to assimilate the increasing population expected, as well as the current development projects. We implemented 25 projects and 6 projects are under implementation with a total 31 projects to add 445,000 cubic meters of water with a cost 20 billion pounds. And one of these projects is establishing 23 desalination plants with a capacity 10,000 to 150,000 cubic meters daily. And there can be further expansion in the future in Ismailia city, developing the drinking water network in Al Arish with a total length of 9,900 kilometers, and 3 pumping stations in Al Arish are being constructed. In the field of developing wastewater networks, we implemented 8 projects and 6 projects are under implementation. 1 project is under planning with a total 15 projects, total cost 33 billion pounds. One of the most important projects established for wastewater is establishing a tertiary wastewater treatment plant depending on Bahr al-Ba'r drainage with the total capacity 5.6 million cubic meters, as well as a tertiary plant in Al Mahsama with a capacity 1 million cubic meters daily, another secondary plant in Tur with a capacity 10,000 cubic meters daily, in addition to a tertiary plant in New Rafah with a capacity 3,000 cubic meters daily. In the field of electricity, we implemented 10 projects with a total cost 3.5 billion pounds, upgraded the electricity networks in Al Arish, Sheikh Zouayed, Rafah, and providing electricity to Bahr el-Ba'r drainage, wastewater treatment plant, and East Bursaid plant. In the field of agriculture and land reclamation, 13 projects were implemented, 8 under implementation, 3 planned, total 24 projects, total cost 68 billion pounds. One of the most important projects is constructing Sarabium and Al Mahsama wells below Suez Canal, in addition to 6 and upgrading and digging 20 wells in Al Arish and 63 wells to continue the infrastructure of the Sheikh Gaber drain, as well as developing Rab'a and Bi'r al-Abd construction a pipeline for the produced water with a length 108 kilometers, as well as reclaiming lands in central North Sinai, the upgrading and developing of Galbana drainage to reclaim 7,000 fidans and reduce the food gap and increase the food production sources. Fisheries were established in East Bursaid with a total 590 tanks on 13,000 fidans with a cost 15 billion pounds. In the field of industrial development, 6 projects were constructed, 4 projects are under construction, and 4 projects are also under planning to serve the industrial development in Sinai, and the total cost is 38 billion Egyptian pounds. One of the most important projects is constructing the port in East Bursaid, and it has 10 platforms with a total length 5 kilometers, 8 handling yards with a total cost 9 billion pounds, and the infrastructure for the industrial zone in East Bursaid is done with a cost 14 billion pounds, and increasing the capacity of Al Arish cement factory to reach 6.9 million tons annually by adding 2 production lines. In the field of educational buildings, we established and developed 29 schools, universities, institutes, and 5 universities are being constructed with a total 54 projects, total cost 21 billion pounds. And we constructed King Salman University in Ras Sidr, Tour, Sharm el-Sheikh, and 2 national universities, East Bursaid and New Ismailiyah and Salam Misr for technology, East Bursaid. We implemented 26 schools, 9 headquarters for educational districts, 8 Egyptian Japanese schools in New Ismailiyah and Tour. We upgraded 9 schools and Azhar institutes in Al Arish, Sheikh Suwaid, and Rafah. In the field of sports facilities, we established the sports hall in Al Arish, and 2 youth camps are under construction with a capacity of 1,600 young men and young women in Ras Sidr and Tour with a cost 510 million pounds. Your Excellency the President, let me extend thanks to the Ministerial Council and all state institutions who were and are still supporting us to implement these projects according to the time schedule. And I would like to extend all thanks to the commanding of the armed forces for supporting us to implement these projects. I would like to thank the engineering companies as well as the consultation offices that contributed to the success of all these projects, and thanks to the people of Sinai for their support to us. We could have never been able to achieve this achievement without them. We are standing all as a shield against the power of evil and all those who would think of harming and destabilizing our country. I would like to extend thanks to my colleagues and sons in the engineering authority of the armed forces who were and always would be up to the responsibility, showing determination and working day and night, taking their support from Allah and your confidence, putting before their eyes the confidence of the people of Egypt in the armed forces with the slogan, a hand carrying a weapon and a hand building. We pledge before Allah and we pledge to you to do all we can to continue the development path and to develop our country. May Egypt be always strong and may God protect its people. May Allah support you and crown your efforts with success. Peace be upon you.
أي أوامر؟
Any orders?
مئات المشروعات
Hundreds of
والملايين من
projects
فرص
and
العمل
millions of
المباشرة
direct
وغير
and
المباشرة
indirect
لأهالي
job
سيناء
opportunities for
ومن
the people
حولها.
in Sinai.
الأيدي المنفذة لكل هذه المشروعات كانت من أبناء
Those
سيناء.
implementing all these projects are the people of Sinai. They did not leave the challenge and the development path, and the armed forces created the suitable environment and paved the way for construction so that the people of Sinai and others realize that real development will always be done through their hands. This presentation about some of the works and the Sinai companies implementing the projects in Sinai.
مهندس محمد أسامة
Engineer
القصاص
Mohammed Osama
للمقاولات
Al-Assas,
العامة
Watad
والتوريدات.
company for
احنا فندم
construction
شركة إنشاءات
and
بتعمل في مجال
procurement. We are a
الإنشاءات من
construction
25
company.
سنة.
We have been working in this
خلينا
field for
نشرف فندم
25
نكون
years. We
من ضمن
were honored to
الشركات
be one
الوطنية
of the
اللي
national
شاركت في تنفيذ
companies that
المشروعات
participated
القومية في
in
سيناء.
implementing the national
احنا فندم
projects in
اشتغلنا في
Sinai.
سيناء
We
من
worked
الفترة
in
2013
Sinai
حتى
since
الآن
2013
بإجمالي
up till now with a total
تكلفة
cost
270 مليون جنيه
270
في
million
مجالات
pounds
متعددة
in
منها
different
المجال
fields:
الصحي والمجال التعليمي
health,
والمجال
education,
التنموي
development.
والمجال التنموي. وعلى سبيل المثال وليس
For
الحصر فندم في
example,
المجال الصحي
in the field of health,
نفذنا إنشاء مستشفى نخل
we
المركزي
constructed Nikhil
وطورنا
Central
مستشفى الشيخ
Hospital
زويد
and
المركزي
upgraded
وأيضا طورنا نقط الإسعاف بمدينة
Sheikh
نخل
Zouayed
وسط الحيطان
Hospital,
والنقب والتمد.
and we worked in
وعلى
Naqab and
المجال السكني يا
Tamad.
فندم
In the
جاري
field
تنفيذ
of
160
housing, we
وحدة
are
سكنية
constructing
بمدينة رفح الجديدة.
160 housing units in
أما في
Rafah
المجال
city.
التنموي يا
In
فندم فإحنا قمنا
development,
بتنفيذ
we
القرية
implemented
البدوية
the
بمدينة
Bedouin
نخل
village in
منطقة
Nikhil, in El
ومنطقة وادي
Khafga,
سعال
and
بمدينة
Wadi
سانت
Su'al in St.
اشتغل معانا يا
Catherine
فندم
city.
أكتر من 6000
We
عامل
had with us 60,000
المهندسين
workers in addition to
والمشرفين
engineers,
والمصانع والورش من أبناء
supervisors,
سيناء.
workshops
فندم بنوعد
from
سيادتك إن شاء الله
Sinai, and we
باستكمال
promise you
قاطرة
to
التنمية
continue this
وخصوصا يا فندم بعد
development, and
تسهيل
especially
دخول
after
الخامات ومواد
facilitating the
البناء عن
entry
طريق
of
الأنفاق اللي تم
construction
افتتاحها في
materials
عهد
through the
سيادتك يا
tunnels
فندم.
that were
شكرا لحضرتك.
constructed. Thank you.
مهندس صفتي غريب
Engineer Safti
مدير عام التشغيل
Gharib, the
والصيانة
General
شركة
Director of
متيتو
Operation and
المعالجة
Maintenance,
شركة
Metito
متيتو يا فندم
Company
هي شركة
for
رائدة
water
متخصصة
treatment.
في
Metito
إنشاء
is a
وتشغيل
pioneer
محطات
company
معالجة
in the
المياه
operation
من
and
جميع المدن
construction
المختلفة.
of
قامت
water
الشركة
plants.
منذ عام
The company since
2015
2015 up till
بإنشاء
now
العديد من
constructed
محطات
a
المياه في
number of
سواء
water plants
محطات
in
لتحلية
Sinai,
مياه
be
البحر
it for
أو معالجة مياه الصرف
desalination
الزراعي.
plants
حضرتك
or
كل ده كان
treatment
بإجمالي
plants
تكلفة
with a total
300 مليون
cost
دولار
$300
و2 مليار
million
جنيه.
and
وعدد
2
أعمال
billion
المباشرة
Egyptian
وغير
pounds.
مباشرة
Direct
أكثر من
and
30,000
indirect
عامل كلهم من شباب
30,000
حضرتك بإجمالي
workers
كمية مياه
with a
محلية
total
310,000
amount of
متر
drinking
مكعب
water
يوم قابلة للزيادة ب 640,000
10,000 cubic meters
حضرتك من
daily.
أبرز هذه المشاريع
One of the most
مشروع
important
محطة
projects is
شرق بورسعيد
East
لتحلية مياه البحر
Port Said desalination
بطاقة
plant with a capacity 150,000 cubic
قابلة للزيادة
meters
ل 250,000
daily
متر
and
مكعب
can
يوم.
be increased to
حضرتك ده في أكبر
250,000.
محطة
This
لتنقية
is the
المياه
biggest plant for water
الفائقة في
desalination
أفريقيا كلها يا فندم.
in Africa,
ومحطة العريش
as well as
لتحلية
a
مياه البحر
Arish
بطاقة
desalination
إنتاجية
plant with a
100,000 متر
capacity
مكعب يوم.
100,000 cubic
حضرتك
meters
هي حاليا
daily,
تعمل في
and
الخدمة
now it
بالكامل
is
للطاقة بتاعتها
operating with its full
لتغذية
capacity
مدينة
to
العريش
feed
ورفح
El Arish
وبرعا
and Rafah
والشيخ
and Be'er El Abd
وكذلك
and
محطة
Sheikh Zouayed
المحسنة
cities, in addition
لمعالجة
to El
مياه الصرف
Mahsama
الزراعي.
agricultural wastewater treatment plant
حضرتك الاستزراع
to plant 70,000 fidans in Sinai. This project received a number of awards, the best design and the best construction. And we have been through a number of difficulties, but thank God through the support of competent authorities, we are able to overcome them all and to finish all the projects in record time. Thank you.
أشرف عبد السميع محمود يا فندم رئيس مجلس إدارة
the chairman of the board of directors of
للمقاولات.
Dammam Construction
الشركة
Company.
بتعمل في مجال
The company is
الإنشاءات
working in the field of
مشاريع عدد
construction
المشاريع اللي بنقوم فيها في سيناء
and we
8
are
مشاريع.
implementing 8
أبرزهم
projects
يا
in
فندم
Sinai. The most
مشروع
important
إنشاء
is the
جامعة
construction
العريش
of El Arish
ومشروع إنشاء
University
الجامعة
and the
التكنولوجية
Technological
بشرق
University
القناة
in
ومشروع
East the
إنشاء
Canal
160
and the
وحدة
construction
سكنية
of
برفح.
160
إحنا
units
بنشكر حضرتك
in
يا ريس
Rafah.
على
We
كل
thank you, the
حاجة
President,
اتعملت
for
فيه.
everything everything that was done. Thank you for the security that we are enjoying and the construction of the universities that made our sons study beside their parents and their families in Sinai and North Sinai in particular. And now we are exactly like all other governorates. May God bless you, give you health and protect you for Egypt. Thank you.
سليمان عبد الحميد سليمان مدير عام شركة عبد الحميد سليمان. احنا حضرتك بنشتغل مع الدولة يا فندم من سنة 94 في مجالات المياه والصرف الصحي. نفذنا 10 مشروعات في سيناء بقيمة إجمالية حضرتك 650 مليون. حجم العمالة حضرتك المباشرة والغير مباشرة معظمهم من أهل سيناء 4000 فرد يا فندم. حضرتك يا فندم أبرز المشاريع الخط الناقل للمنطقة الاقتصادية في شرق بورسعيد وإنشاء شبكات استصلاح للتجمعات التنموية النسيلة 1 and 2 and the beginning of the works we faced a number of challenges because of the security operation and thank God thanks to the state and its authorities we were able to overcome this and the implementation rates in east the canal are equal to that west the canal. Thank you.
حمدان محمود شعبان الأصلي, the chairman of the board of directors of Isra Construction Company. We work in the field of roads. We are a Sinai company. We were honored to work with the engineering authority of the armed forces in the national projects along with other companies. The most important projects we worked on is the national network for roads, land reclamation projects in New Delta and Toshka, as well as the construction of tunnels and the construction of Suez Canal. We had indirect and direct 5,000 workers. The most important project is the protection of Sharm el-Sheikh city from floods, torrential rains, as well as the internal roads of Sharm el-Sheikh and Sharm el-Sheikh road to the tunnels. After restoring security to Sinai, we wish that all our companies would work with full capacity to construct other projects in Sinai, and we are waiting for your directives. I would like to say one thing over history. Egypt was the gift of the river Nile, and during this age you are Allah's gift to Egypt. Engineer Muhammad Ahmed Abd Smeri, the chairman of the board of directors of Mecca company from El Arish city. We work in the field of construction. Since 1981 we worked on a number of projects with the state on health, educational projects, as well as hotels. Since 2014 up till now, we worked on a number of projects in Sinai, 5 projects with a total cost 350 million pounds, direct and indirect workers 3,500 from the people of Sinai, its residents, in addition to the suppliers who provide us with the materials. These projects are the construction of 200 housing units in Salam Misr, in elementary school in Bi'r el-Ad, the market in El Arish, 190 housing units in El Arish city, 265 housing units in New Rafah since its beginning up till now. We worked in these areas in difficult conditions, yet I and all the colleagues were convinced that Sinai won't get rid of terrorism except through development and construction, and thanks to the wise leadership, the Egyptian armed forces and the police, we are able now to accelerate the implementation of the projects, and Sinai would meet our dreams. I would like to thank you all for working in difficult conditions, and some of you talked about the obstacles and the challenges you faced while working on the previous years. Some of your relatives were kidnapped, maybe some machines and equipments were set on fire, some of you were warned from working. So the idea here is that today,
بعد ما ربنا سبحانه وتعالى وفقنا.
After Allah helped us.
زي ما انتوا بتقولوا كده
And as you said,
الإرهاب اللي كان موجود واللي كان بيعيق
terrorism has come to an end and it no longer hampers construction, and not just construction, even life, a normal life. If people live without security, they won't be able to live. So thanks to Allah, all this that was done thanks to Allah, the armed forces, the police, and the people of Sinai. When all people were united, the matter was resolved. For 8 or 9 years we've been doing that, and I would like also to tell you, I have a request. Sinai's surface area is 60,000 kilometers, and we live in Egypt on 60,000 kilometers square as well. So those who listen to me, be it an Egyptian or a resident in Sinai, all the population of Egypt live on 60,000 kilometers almost, and we are trying to increase that to be 12%, and this is our plan through the new cities, but it is 60,000 in the surface area of Sinai as well. So over the years there was no real construction in Sinai because the cost was very high to do the infrastructure in 60,000 kilometers, roads network, electricity stations, all the examples that you gave us right now. To do this on 60,000 kilometers is costly, and this prevented the construction and development during the previous years. We are saying this to tell the people that, why am I saying this, Dr. Mustafa? I want to tell you that the war on terrorism did not come to an end. Up till now, there are a lot of rumors and lies, the last of which is what was mentioned during the previous month when it was said about the Suez Canal. I know that the Egyptians would not believe that, but it was said that we were thinking of selling Suez Canal. And they made a video about what I said, that I said I will sell it for $1 trillion. Regardless of the numbers or that, I would like to say that the attempt of hampering you, and not just you, but Egypt as a whole, would go on. So we always need not just to be aware, because thank God all segments of the Egyptian society have this awareness. Otherwise people would not have borne the high prices and the difficult conditions in Egypt over here. And I acknowledge this because this is the reality. We are not the cause. Yet every family and every Egyptian citizen now is shouldering a great burden due to the high cost and the increasing prices. Let's go back to Sinai. I just wanted to tell you that what you did during the previous years could not have been done today, and we could have postponed it, and maybe we could have just started doing it right now. So the cost would have increased if we're talking about 40 or 50 billion US dollars as a cost. If we were to start it right now, we could have paid double this number, in addition, of course, to the time needed for implementation. What do I need from your companies? If I would talk to Metito, I would tell them, you have been establishing desalination plants and treatment plants in Egypt for a very long time.
So the amount of the local component, we need, you have the contacts and you have the experience through which you can increase, for example, the local manufacturing of the materials needed. We said that all the cities on the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea would depend on desalination of water. This is a very big program, and we are ready. Okay, and we are ready to. The idea is that we need to do that to provide job opportunities and also to reduce the hard currency that we pay to purchase the parts and the materials. And there is the program we are launching for you all. What is coming is totally different from what was done before. Don't think that after the sacrifices the people of Sinai made, we will thank them only by words. We will say thank you through attention and work.
أنا بقول لكم كده عشان تبقى الأمور واضحة.
I'm saying this to make things clear. And it's the people of Sinai, the companies, and it's people who will do it. And if we need other companies, no problem. But don't think that we will keep only what was there before. And this was on our minds and in our plans over the past 8 years while fighting terrorism. And the people who know best about these difficulties are you, not only you as construction companies, but others. Life was so difficult, not only due to terrorism, but also due to the procedures that were made by the army and the police to secure the area. So the movement from the east to west was difficult. And the movement of the materials, even the fertilizers were brought in small quantities. So we need your companies and all the other companies in Sinai to work with us. And would you take from us a bonus? We are ready to work at half price. Okay.
هو معنا صاحب التكلفة بعد إذنك معلش قطعت بالتكلفة.
We're at the cost.
طيب.
أقل من نص
التكلفة أقل من نص الثمن. طيب يا أصلا.
At the cost price, we are ready to work with the state at the cost price. Thank you all very much. I'm glad to meet you. I would like to thank you and thank all the people of Sinai and tell the families that sacrificed and gave their children or lost their children because of the terrorist attacks. Our condolences to you, and this price was paid to clear Sinai from terrorism that wanted the state to lose this part. Sinai. The police and the army were not able to operate, and the state was not able to provide good education, good health services or investments. And when you used to construct the road, did they give you the opportunity to do it? When you were to construct a project, would you let you do it? This was not done for us, it was done for the people. Yes, because they wanted to destroy, but we wanted to construct through. So in the near future we will have a big plan, and we need your efforts, and we need high implementation rates to make our people in Sinai feel that the state is working strongly, because now there are no pretexts. Isn't this the case, Muhammad? There is no pretext.
ما بقاش في عذر ان الشرطه ما تبقاش موجوده.
The police is there, the army is there.
كثافه اكبر من اللي كانت موجوده قبل كده.
And the presence of the police, of course, would be more to achieve stability and security. All the state institutions, education and health would be present at a higher level, because the obstacle that used to be there before because of terrorism and the terrorist attacks is no longer there. We moved the court to Ismailia when these attacks happened. I do not want to be lengthy, so once more thank you, and I thank the people of Sinai. We are all one. We are all one.
يعني أنا ما يصحش أقول أهل سيناء.
I do not want to say the people of Sinai, because I do not say the people of Aswan or the people of Aswan. We are all one, we are all Egyptians, and this is our country and this is our land. We should look after it and die for it. Thank you.
ولأن الإخلاص وإتقان العمل هما السبيل
good work is the only means to achieve the love of the country, and because we need to thank the people, so how much was exerted for this, and the army has protected the Holy Land, and now it is witnessing development. The people of Sinai knew that the combat is not the one who carries the weapon, but the combat is the one who is qualified in different fields, and now the president is going to honor a number of figures and people from Sinai. Miss Isra Amin Hamdi. She works in customer service office in El Arish Hospital. Miss Isra faced a terrorist attack and she continued her work, and afterwards she was injured after a number of years by a bullet in her arm from a terrorist while working on facilitating the procedures of the citizens. And this did not prevent her from continuing her work up till today. Mr. Khalil Hamad Salman, he works in electricity sector in Sheikh Zuwayed. Despite the difficult conditions and the sabotage of the facilities and utilities by the terrorists, he continued work and provided electricity to Sheikh Zuwayed and Al Arish. Miss Sharbat Subhi Farag, she works as a manager of an orphanage in Al Arish. She did not forget her role. And after her retirement, she continued her work in qualifying the girls psychologically, especially the girls who lost their parents, to reintegrate them in the community so that they can be effective citizens. Dr. Ahmed Mansour Abdel Fattah Hussein, the manager of Al Arish Public Hospital. During fighting terrorism, he did not stop working in the hospital and providing medical aid and receiving the injured ones, the civilians and the military personnel. Ms. Wissam Abdel Hadi Hamdan, she is the manager of Amr ibn al-As Elementary School. In difficult security conditions, she continued her work and performed her role, and she provided aid also to the families of the needy families and looked after her students. Dr. Tamer Hamdi Ahmed, he is the manager of Bi'r al-Abd Hospital. He was threatened to be killed to stop providing services to the injured ones in the hospital, and despite that he continued his work and he provided the medical aid to the terrorists after they were arrested. Excuse us, the President will start now the tour to inspect the equipments.
يشهد راح وما جاش علشان بلده ما يكسرهاش، روح وعزيمة وصورة عظيمة عاشوا جنودنا لبلدنا. يوم تحرير سيناء ده هيفضل عالبال، درس يقوينا وحكاية الأجيال عن تحرير سيناء. عدل المصريين يوم غالي علينا، ذكرى تعيش لسنين. مهدي للديانات أنبياء ورسالات،
إذا مشاهدينا الكرام، ففكرة التنمية في سيناء هي من الأمور المهمة من خلال مسار تنموي متطور ومتكامل الأركان كما تابعنا
as we have seen, and these are the efforts the state made.
السيد الرئيس وجه أيضا بدعم المجتمع السيناوي وزيادة مساحة التطوير الحضاري على حساب ما كان قائما في غياب التخطيط. التخطيط والرؤية هي من الأمور المهمة التي تسعى إليها الدولة دائما، متسقة مع استراتيجية مصر 2030 من أجل النهوض بالدولة في كافة القطاعات. أيضا
and all sectors, also the Egyptian citizen, and providing a decent life to the Egyptians in every spot in Egypt. This is one of the things that the state work on. In addition to coordinating efforts between different sectors. This all reflected positively on the path of development in Egypt in general and development in Sinai in particular. This is something that the political leadership has worked on for a long period, especially in light of the challenges.
خطر الإرهاب، إضافة أيضا
إلى
انطلاق جهود الدولة إلى هذه البقعة الغالية من
the state efforts to develop Sinai through the main strategy for developing it. So the state is following specific steps in different governorates, and at the heart of it is Sinai. Especially that these areas in Sinai Peninsula has faced a lot of challenges, so it needs further development. And the state, through its attention to Sinai and Upper Egypt, was able to develop these two areas. And this has supported a lot of families in Egypt and enabled the state to play its role. The strategy of the new republic is to give priority to Sinai and Upper Egypt. And the political leadership has a clear, ambitious plan for all the residents of Sinai to enjoy a decent life. So Egypt is implementing a comprehensive strategy to develop Sinai. Over 9 years, a lot of achievements were made. And not only in Sinai, but other places in Egypt through a comprehensive vision that the state works on. And this plan is to develop the infrastructure, the industry, the urban communities in Sinai. And we can see now the line-up of the machines and the equipments that would participate in the strategic development of North Sinai. And this makes us all proud that Egypt will achieve this development and would develop every spot in it.
هنا
حركة تعمير وتطوير برؤية وتخطيط من الدولة منذ عام 2014.
Since the year 2014, a vision adopted by the state according to its Vision 2030. This has put Sinai at the heart of the development plan. And to speak in details about the importance of this event, we will talk about the role of the private sector. We have with us accountant محاسب درغام, a representative of one of the private companies, and we have also with us Mr. Ashraf Abdessamia Mahmoud, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the private companies working on the construction of Sinai. If we start speaking in details about your role as businessmen from Sinai and national companies, how did you work on development and the development projects in Sinai? You are working in your place. Of course, we are so proud of the role we are playing here in Sinai, and we are proud that we are one of the companies that worked over the previous 6 or 7 years on the state plan to develop Sinai and the national projects in Sinai. Now we are attending an important event that we have been waiting for long years. We can see the political will to develop and construct Sinai seriously, and we haven't seen this before. We were dreaming of that, but thanks to God today we are ready as private sector companies from Sinai to continue this path to construct Sinai in cooperation with the engineering authority of the armed forces and the 2nd Field Army. And we have supported all the previous national projects over the previous years, and we are so glad to be part of this effort. What is the role played by your company in which fields, and to what extent the businessmen have the opportunity to participate in the construction and development of Sinai?
بها وبمواطنيها لفترات طويلة سواء لأسباب سياسية أو أسباب أمنية أو ما إلى ذلك.
After lacking this construction for years for a number of reasons, our company is a construction company, and thank God, since the President assumed office, we have been working on national projects to construct universities. And we enjoy security like we had never enjoyed before, and this is the most important thing. And we participate in these national projects, and we thank the President for giving our governorate a priority. Thank you, and we wish you the best.
سينا جت بسلام ما سلمناش سينا يعني سلام صورة يا سلام عالجمال الساحر الخلاف
سينا طمعوا فيها كتير بس دفعوا كتير أرض طهرة وليها رب كبير
أحييكم مشاهدينا الكرام من أرض اصطفاف المعدات الهندسية المشاركة في خطة التطوير الاستراتيجي لسيناء، حيث نتابع مع حضراتكم اليوم الدور الذي يقوم به أهالي سيناء، خاصة رجال الأعمال الموجودون هناك والشركات الوطنية المساهمة بشكل كبير في إعمار وتنمية سيناء. يشرفنا أن يكون معنا في هذه الفقرة أو هذا اللقاء الحاج حمدان القصلي، رئيس مجلس إدارة إحدى الشركات
الوطنية of the companies working in Sinai, engineer Mohammed Osama Al-Qassas, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the national companies working on the construction of Sinai. Welcome. Haj Hamdan, would you please introduce to us the importance of this event, meeting the president face to face? And also the role your company plays in the construction of Sinai. First of all, as for the place and the event, when the president works on a topic, he gives us hope, and we have full confidence that there would be seriousness and speedy implementation to make up for the time lost because of tourism. We will continue construction in Sinai. As for the role of the company, our company works on construction of roads and infrastructure projects. We are ready with machines and equipments to implement all these projects, as this was our dream, and we find that it is coming true now. Engineer Mohammed Al-Qassas, in your opinion, what is the role of the private sector in developing Sinai in particular? And what about the space given by the state for the private sector to participate in these efforts? Of course, today's event is so important, and this proves how the state and the president gives due attention to Sinai for development and investment. We have a lot of resources and capacities, and we would like to welcome people to invest in Sinai. The idea of investing in Sinai is very important. Since the year 2014, the state has put a specific vision with a specific plan. To what extent this had a positive impact on Sinai and investment in Sinai? And to what extent would this give the opportunity to more development? Of course, the state is providing the funding needed and giving the opportunity to the companies for developing an investment in Sinai. Sinai need to be qualified and eligible for this investment, and this is exactly what the state is doing. It is developing Sinai to attract investments, and the president has provided the financial resources needed. The role of the armed forces represented in the engineering authority to support the implementation and to cooperate with the private companies. We have always been working with the engineering authority, and its role is supervising quality as well as overcoming obstacles. But all projects are being implemented by civil companies, and every number of companies increase every year. And of course, the engineering authority helps us to overcome the difficulties, and through cooperation with them and through their coordination, we are able to speed up the implementation rates. Before 2014, we used to see the things needed more, and now we can see the promises made by the president met, and the engineering authority is supportive. And I, in particular, because I work with them in the construction of roads, so I have seen all their efforts, and what was achieved up till now was a dream. So we are now living in a real state. Thank you for this interview, and we wish you the best. Dear viewers, we are still providing the coverage to the visit of President Sisi to Wadi al-Mollak village in Ismailiyah Governorate, and we can see the support support of the President to construction in Sinai Peninsula that has suffered for years from lack of enough attention, although this spot is so dear to our hearts.
اتمد يا جسر التنمية فرع واتمد على سينا الحرة المصرية وما تنساش حد. خلينا نشوف الفدادين في الصحراء صباحت بساتين ونحقق حلم الملايين لبلدنا لبلدنا بجد. اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا اتمد اتمد اتمد. بوابة مصر الشرقية أرض الأمجاد الوطنية من فوقها موسى النبي كلم ربه وسمع له وتعلم. ودي نهضة جديدة بتتبسم بتبص لبكرة وتتقدم على سينا الغالية اللي حماها رب السماوات.
اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا بجد. اتمد اتمد
والأعظم أجناد الأرض.
تحسين البنية التحتية وتطويرها أيضا والعمل على تنمية شمال سيناء
and developing North Sinai
التي تعنى بها الدولة بشكل كبير في هذا
is given due attention by the state
يعني مخصصات مالية
through providing financial allocations for the development of Sinai and opening the door to the private sector to work on the development in different sectors in Sinai, especially after stabilizing Sinai and attaining security in it through the efforts of the armed forces and the Egyptian police in cooperation with the people of Sinai to reach this phase in which we are enjoying peace and security, be it in Sinai or in every area in Egypt. Thanks to the martyrs who sacrificed their lives for the security and safety of the country. We are witnessing today great developments in different sectors, construction, development, and this signifies what was done by the armed forces, the police, as well as the people of Sinai to protect it and to defend its land. We will discuss the construction, development and investment in Sinai with my two guests, Engineer Sulaiman Abdelhamid Sulaiman, the manager of one of the companies. Welcome, thank you. And Mr. Mahmoud Sha'ban Al-Qusali, the chairman of the board of directors of one of the companies. Welcome, thank you. Let's start with Engineer Sulaiman. This is an important event that delivers a lot of messages. How do you see these messages? The most important thing about this event is that security is back to Sinai. This is a very important achievement.
الأمر الآخر الذي يتعلق بالاستثمار.
And what about investment and development in Sinai? Security helps to increase investments and development in Sinai in general and North Sinai in particular. How do you see this? And in which field are your company working? My company is working in the field of water and wastewater. Providing water to Sinai is very important as it will contribute to development and it will help with the implementation of a lot of projects. Having desalination
عشان يبقى الشهيد راضي عشان يبقى الشهيد مرتاح ويفرح كل يوم باللي حصل فيها بنبنيها عشان يبقى الشهيد راضي عشان يبقى الشهيد مرتاح ويطمن على البلد اللي قرر انه يبنيها بنبنيها عشان يبقى الشهيد راضي عشان يبقى الشهيد مرتاح ويفرح كل يوم باللي حصل فيها
عندنا قائد بيسعى للنهار مصر تبقى دولة من بين الكبار عندنا قائد بيسعى للنهار مصر تبقى دولة من بين الكبار الريادة يا سادة محتاجة القرار مصر عايزة ايد بتبني وايد بتحمي.
اسمحوا لي ان احنا قبل ما نقعد يعني
sitting down, let me say on this day that it is a great day.
احنا نقف
Let us stand here
دقيقة
for a minute in silence
وايضا تقدير
and appreciation and respect
لارواح شهدائنا
to the souls of our martyrs, all martyrs, the martyrs of Egypt,
من الشرطة
the army, the police,
من القضاء
the judiciary,
من ابناء سينا
the sons of Sinai,
كل اللي ضحوا
martyrs, all those martyrs who sacrificed themselves so that we can stand here safely
بداية جديدة
to say a new beginning
كادت تفقد
to our land that was about to be lost.
دقيقة حدادية.
So let's stand in silence.
بسم الله
In
الرحمن
the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most gracious, a verse from the Holy Quran that says, work as your work would be witnessed by Allah, His Prophet and His believers. President Abdel Fattah Sisi, the highest commander of the armed forces and the President of Egypt, ladies and gentlemen. A new day, a new day of the days of glory and pride, a day on which Egypt proves the real meaning of victory and that it is capable, thanks to Allah, to impose its will, whatever the challenges are. And the soldiers of Egypt would be always at the forefront, those soldiers who were able to clear Sinai from terrorism and the enemy who thought that he would be able to destabilize the country, forgetting that he's facing the best soldiers on earth. And today Egypt is moving on the road. It took a hand carrying the weapon and the other building, and now before you all is the lineup of all equipments that would participate in the strategic development of North Sinai, and its men are fully ready to move with determination and strength, full of hope for a bright future, emphasizing their pledge to Allah and the country, proud of the responsibility they shoulder for reconstructing Sinai. And the speech of Major General Chief of Staff Muhammad Rabi', the commander of the 2nd Field Army. Excellency President Fattah Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of the soldiers and the commanders of the 2nd Field Army, East and West to the Canal, would like to welcome you to the Army of Victory or Sacrifice. This army that was honored to serve you and this army in which you served. Your Excellency the President, we are celebrating today your attendance to inspect the lineup of equipments getting ready to move towards Sinai to implement the strategic development plan of Sinai after Egypt in general and Sinai in particular has faced terrorist attacks that our armed forces faced along with the police over a whole decade. And since this is the battlefield, the 2nd Field Army was supported by the general commanding of the armed forces as well as the Egyptian forces to overcome this challenge and to purify Sinai from terrorism. And during this decade, the combats has given the best examples in sacrifices, and they inscribed by their blood and sacrifices great legends. Some of them sacrificed their lives honorably and others are waiting to sacrifice themselves. And while fighting terrorism and within the framework of your directives to secure the development planned projects, and through the strong support of the leadership of the army and its main branches, the soldiers and the commanders of the 2nd Field Army has given a great example in securing the development project in addition to main responsibilities of fighting terrorism. And this had a great impact on implementing these projects that would have never been achieved except through the main two elements: the state's vision represented in its political enlightened leadership and the strength of the state represented in its armed forces. Your Excellency the President, after delivering the speech of Egypt in the 74th session of the General Assembly of the UN 2019, in which you clarified to the whole world that we should not focus only on terrorism and terrorists and their acts of destruction and discarding those who fund, recruit, train and provide arms and safe havens to terrorists. We found the effect of that in the battlefields and its impact on the operations of the soldiers and the commanders. And thanks to Allah and the sacrifices of the devoted sons of the armed forces and the blood of the martyrs, we were able, as you announced a few days ago, that this war is now in the memory of history. All these projects that we have seen everywhere in Egypt are recognized by the whole world. And although we have seen these terror attacks and their plans, this was not just limited to the spot in Sinai, but it wanted to expand and spread everywhere in Egypt and outside Egypt. So ending terrorism was a strategic goal and a need to achieve all these hopes and aspirations. The commanders and the soldiers of the 2nd Field Army and all the forces that participated in the operations exerted their top efforts, and they are still clearing the land from the remaining explosives to support the development we are working on today, as well as providing the requirements of normal life for the people of Sinai. Your Excellency President Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, let me extend thanks and appreciation to the heroes of the 2nd Field Army and all those who participated with them for the efforts they made and the blood they sacrificed. Glory be to all the martyrs, and may the armed forces always be the shield and the weapon. And long live Egypt, strongly with its people, its potentials, proud with its capabilities, safe and secured with its army under your wise leadership. Peace be upon you. The men of the engineering authority in the armed forces played an important role in supervising the different companies working on construction in Egypt, and its men has always met the call for construction and development. Major General Ahmed Al-Azazi, the chairman of the engineering authority in the armed forces. In the name of Allah, according to your directives, we will start immediately preparing the engineering machines and equipment to continue the construction projects in Sinai, and the lineup before you, 540 machines and equipments divided into 5 groups. On the right hand side towards arrow 1 in green, the first batch, 108 equipments and engineering vehicles, 72 trucks, 36 trailers, and to arrow number 2 in blue, the second batch, 270 vehicles with trucks, 36 paving machines. And in front of us immediately to arrow 3 in red, the third group, total 108 trucks that can move 600 cubic meters per hour. And purple, the fourth group, total 72 equipments, 36 trucks and paving machines, and 36 elevators. To the left-hand side, arrow number 5 in orange, the fifth group, total 108 equipments and machines, 36 trucks with a capacity for cubic meters, and 28 trucks. And to carry these equipments to their areas in development projects in China, on both sides, immediately you will find 60 trailers that can carry 700 tons. Your Excellency the President, your keenness on work to achieve the projects at high quality and record time and low cost, and following up all the plans in different fields was the motive that inspired us to challenge all difficulties and all the efforts you exert at all times. Emphasize what you said since the first moment, that the strength is for those who have the will and the determination. Men of the engineering authority will always be determined on this right path to shoulder their responsibility with dignity and honesty to protect this country, and this is our honor, and its construction is our objective, and this is our message. Your Excellency President Fattah al-Sisi, the President of the Republic and the highest commander of the armed forces, all the elements standing before you are waiting for an order to move and participate in all the development projects in different spots of Sinai. Any orders? Thank you, Ahmed. I would just like to say to Major General Mohammed and the engineering authority, I heard about the mission of removing the explosives, and I do not want to lose anyone else. So I don't know whether you need first 1 or 2 months to remove all the mines or the explosives, and then after you say that you have removed them fully, we can start the operation. This is the first point we need to recognize. The second thing I'm saying to the engineering authority and also the second field army, that the priority, of course, is to all the national companies from Sinai. Because, of course, they are the ones who worked with us in very difficult conditions, and they were there. Of course, the performance rate was not as we wished, but of course, it was because of the circumstances. So the priority is for them, of course, and I wish that we will make up for all the lost time and finish all the projects as soon as possible. First, we need to be reassured that all the explosives were removed, and afterwards we can start the implementation of the projects. Also, we are talking about a plan we received. Dr. Mustafa, along with the Ministry of Housing, the Urban Communities, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Irrigation, all the ministries were working with us on it. This is a plan, and it is not a modest one. I'm saying this to all Egyptians. Dr. Mustafa is talking about 600, 700,000 fidans, the total lands, that we wish that by the end of this year the water would be available, be it from المحسمة or بحر البقر, and the pipeline would be ready, and then we can say that we'll have enough lands to be part of the production by the end of this year. I'm talking here about Sinai, not Toshka or Wadi al-Matroon. I'm talking about Sinai only. We're talking about 600,000, the new and the old ones. So I wish that development and our plan is not a modest one. The distance, and I do not want to talk much about that before we start. The plan is suitable for Egypt, the people of Sinai, and it is so important also to say that some people find it strange to expand the port, and maybe in its hinterland that there are some houses we can compensate the people for these houses and expand the port so that it would be a world port. And I wish our people would not think that we are doing this to harm them and we are removing their houses. We are just doing something different. When we put El Arish port on the map of Egypt ports on the Mediterranean Sea, we are talking about a port that can export all the products, be it mining materials or agriculture products, and we are not doing this for this year or next year. We are talking here about things that would serve us for the coming 15 years through the development of Sinai. So thank you, and I wish that you would be aware of the safety of your people. We always be cautious and alert. We should always be cautious. Never say everything is over. We should always be alert, along with the people of Sinai, and they should help us. In 2006, 2007, and 2010, when we were silent, you saw what happened. So don't keep silent. Cooperating and telling us beware of this, or We are not going to do something to this person you are warning us about. We will try to help him and assist him. Don't be silent, because as you saw, it took us 10 years. So let us not forget that. Let us not forget the painful days. And I'm sorry to say this on this nice event, but it is so important that we would always remember and be more cautious so that this won't happen again. So that this won't happen again, be it here or anywhere else in Egypt. Communication with the people, Muhammad. The leaders of the tribes, this is a culture between the forces and our people in Sinai, and not only here in Sinai but in the whole western and southern area. Communication with the people and the leaders of the tribes is so important. This is a culture that we need to implement. I wish you the best of luck and thank you for your efforts, and we still have a lot of work to do. Thank you. Your Excellency, the President, in the life of peoples and nations, there are moments that would never be forgotten, moments that change time, and we are inspired by them to create the future so that it would be always alive in the memory of the nation. And today would be remembered in this place. And few years ago, we have seen the line-up of the 6th Armored Batch to do the war inspection to check its preparedness for the battle and participating in the Rite of the Martyrs operation. And today seems similar to yesterday. The only difference here is that we are witnessing today the lineup of machines and equipments as forces not for war but for forcing and imposing the will of construction in Sinai. And as Your Excellency announced, that no one would be able to impose his control on any spot of this land, and this was achieved, and the price was dear. Great sacrifices and blood shed from devoted men, and Egypt would never forget them. What is happening today is the best way to thank those who sacrificed themselves. This proves that what our heroes gave was not in vain. This is Egypt, strong, proud, in front of enemies, enjoying peace and stability. This is Egypt, the gift of Allah, protected, and Egypt would always be the state of peace and security as described in the Holy Quran. Your Excellency, the President, we will inspect the lineup of the machines.
افتح كتاب المعجزات تقرا السطور، رجالة قدروا يصنعوا من الضلمة نور. على الأرض دي ما تجدي والنهارده أخويا، بس اللي لاقي في القلوب مكتوب حلول. سينا وبينا سينا عايشة فينا، شايلنا في عينينا هنبنيها بإيدينا. سينا حتة من الطمن ونفيد أمينا. سينا وبينا سينا عايشة فينا، شايلنا في عينينا هنبنيها بإيدينا. سينا حتة من الطمن حب ماشي في العروق، ناسها ناسنا مفيش فروق. شمسها ويا الشروق مكان من بيعان. سينا وبينا سينا عايشة فينا، شايلنا في عينينا هنبنيها بإيدينا. سينا حتة من نطمن ونفيد أمينا. ياللي رايح سينا أبدا ما نسينا أهالينا وإخواتنا في العريش هنا. دول ولاد عمك أهلك من دمك، فرحك وهمك بيكونوا معاك. سلم لي على الجنود أسود ولاد أسود، والعسكري اللي واقف العسكري اللي واقف بيحارب على الحدود. سينا مش هنسيبها حتى لو هنموت. سينا احنا اصحابها وهنبني بيوت. تحية لك يا دفعة جايالك من هناك، من أخوك وبلدياتك اللي في الجيش معاك. بيقولك خلي بالك دي مصر محتاجالك. بيقولك خلي بالك دي مصر محتاجالك. إيدك معايا نبني مصر مستنياك. تحية ليك يا سينا من كل المصريين، حبايبنا وأهالينا الناس الطيبين. والكل شهيد يا بلدي من شرطة ولا جيش، اللي شايل سلاحه مات علشان نعيش. والكل شهيد يا بلدي من شرطة ولا جيش، اللي شايل سلاحه مات علشان نعيش. فاكره يا مصر دايما اصل انت ما بتنسيش. تحية ليك يا سينا من كل المصريين، حبايبنا واهالينا الناس الطيبين. بير العبد والشيخ زويد ورفح والعريش، دول اهالينا في سينا من غيرهم ما نساويش. وبير العبد والشيخ زويد ورفح والعريش، دول اهالينا في سينا من غيرهم ما نساويش. سينا مش هنسيبها حتى لو هنموت. سينا احنا اصحابها وهنبني بيوت. ياللي رايح سينا ابدا ما نسينا اهالينا واخواتنا في العريش هنا. سلم لي على الجنود أسود ولاد أسود، والعسكري اللي واقف بيحارب على الحدود. اتمد يا جسر التنية فرع واتمد على سينا الحرة المصرية وما تنساش حد. خلينا نشوف الفدادين بالصحراء صباحت بساتين، ونحقق حلم الملايين لبلدنا لبلدنا بجد. اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا، اتمد اتمد اتمد. بوابة مصر الشرقية أرض الأمجاد الوطنية، من فوقها موسى النبي كلم ربه وسمع له وتعلم. ودي نهضة جديدة بتتبسم بتبص لبكرة وتتقدم على سينا الغالية اللي حماها رب السماوات.
اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا بجد. اتمد اتمد.
والأعظم أجناد الأرض بنسجل أحلى الصفحات للجندي اللي بيحمي العرض ويحقق أغلى انتصارات، ويضحي بعمره وعليه الصحي على حدوده، ولا تغفل عن أرض جدوده ولا ثانية، ودايما سهرانة في كل الأوقات.
اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا بجد. اتمد اتمد.
من وحيد مصر في أكتوبر جايين على سينا نعمرها، ما هي صباحت زهرة أكتوبر من يوم ما جيشنا حررها، وبتفتح للخير أبواب وبتسعد كل الأحباب. مصر اللي عليها هنا قامت أغلى الحضارات. اتمد يا جسر التنمية
بلدنا بجد. اتمد اتمد.
هيلا هيلا وهيلا وهيلا هيلا يا سينا يا فجر المستقبل. الشمس هي صباحت كل ليل والدنيا بقت أحلى وأجمل. على مدد الشوق مشاريع أكبر وشباب جاي يزرع ويعمر، وسياحة عظيمة الله أكبر على سينا الحرة اللي ياما شافت بطولات. اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا، اتمد اتمد اتمد. اتمد يا جسر التنمية فرع واتمد على سينا الحرة المصرية، وما تنساش حد. خلينا نشوف الفدادين بالصحراء صباحت بساتين، ونحقق حلم الملايين لبلدنا لبلدنا بجد. اتمد يا جسر التنمية لبلدنا، اتمد اتمد اتمد.
الشهيد راضي عشان يبقى الشهيد مرتاح ومطمن على البلد اللي قرر انه يبقيها. بنبنيها عشان يبقى الشهيد راضي عشان يبقى الشهيد مرتاح ويفرح كل يوم باللي حصل فيها. بنبنيها عشان يبقى الشهيد راضي عشان يبقى الشهيد مرتاح ومطمن على البلد اللي قرر انه يبقيها.
C'était, chers téléspectateurs, le président Abdel Fattah Sisi qui vient d'inspecter aujourd'hui les équipements utilisés pour la mise en œuvre du plan de l'État pour le développement et la reconstruction du Sinaï, cette partie chère de l'Égypte. Et à présent, chers téléspectateurs, nous vous donnons plus d'informations aujourd'hui. Les équipements utilisés pour la mise en œuvre du plan de l'État pour le développement et la reconstruction du Sinaï dans le gouvernorat de Ismaïlia a été inspecté par le président de la République Abdel Fattah Sisi en présence du Premier ministre Dr Moustapha Madbouli, du commandant général des forces armées, ministre de la Défense et de la production militaire, le général d'armée Mohamed Zaki et un grand nombre de ministres et de hauts responsables de l'État. Dans son allocution, le Premier ministre, Dr Moustapha Madbouli, a souligné que les efforts déployés par l'État pour le développement du Sinaï représentent un bond en avant, indiquant que le Sinaï avait besoin d'un plan de développement intégré adéquat. Cette partie intégrante de l'Égypte qui constitue la partie asiatique de l'Égypte est vraiment à présent dans la ligne de mire du gouvernement avec plein de projets de reconstruction et de développement pour le Sinaï. Et à présent, chers téléspectateurs, nous allons essayer de contacter quelques experts pour parler plus de cet événement d'aujourd'hui. L'inspection par le président de la République du matériel et des machines utilisées pour mener à bien ce grand projet du développement et de la reconstruction du Sinaï. Je viens de vous le dire, chers téléspectateurs, le président Abdel Fattah Sisi vient de terminer son inspection aujourd'hui des équipements utilisés pour la mise en œuvre du plan de l'État égyptien pour le développement et la reconstruction du Sinaï, une partie chère et intégrante de l'Égypte, la partie asiatique de l'Égypte, dans le gouvernorat de Ismaïlia, en présence du Premier ministre, Dr Moustapha Madbouli, du commandant général des forces armées, ministre de la Défense et de la production militaire, le général d'armée Mohamed Zaki, et d'un grand nombre de ministres et de hauts responsables de l'État. Et le Premier ministre, Dr Moustapha Madbouli, dans son allocution, a souligné que les efforts déployés par l'État pour le développement du Sinaï, chers téléspectateurs, représentent un bond en avant, indiquant que le Sinaï avait besoin d'un plan de développement intégré, adéquat et courageux, certainement, avec plein de projets qui sont entrepris pour son développement et sa reconstruction.
الأرض دي حالفين ما حد يهدها، واللي بغبائهم قالوا نحرق أرضها، نسيوا التاريخ